the last 3 or 4 days have been just absolutely horrendously stressful. The kind of numerous phone calls to Manx Care. We're just banging our head on a brick wall. We haven't really got anywhere, and it's kind of through no fault of our own, unfortunately. So what happened was my son had an accident when we were away a couple of weeks ago, and he fractured his shin bone and damaged the growth plate in his leg. So we ended up in Alder Hey. He had emergency surgery to fix the leg. And we've seen an absolutely fantastic orthopaedic surgeon who's the lead surgeon over there, called Mr. Pryor. He encouraged us to enrol into a medical research scheme because this type of injury is not a familiar kind of occurrence. They've never really seen it before, so they're doing a research into it as to what is the best care. Do they operate? Do they not operate? So we enrolled into the scheme, and we were told that our care would be in Alder Hey going forward for the next 3 years. This is because the type of injury that my son has, it could damage or if the growth plate is damaged, so it could impact the growth in his leg. So his leg might not grow at all or as much as it should do. So that's what this scheme's called. It's called Odd Socks. So we came back to the island, and we were told to arrange travel through Manx Care, which was going okay up until Monday, when we were told that a doctor has refused to pay for our travel off island to Alder Hey, despite the request of the specialist, Mr. Pryor. So a bit of back and forth. We couldn't get a kind of reason out of why they wouldn't pay for travel. For my son, who's 12, we're happy to meet the costs to get to Alder Hey. We let them know that. And then we were told that Manx Care have refused to meet the medical bills of my son at Alder Hey to see a specialist. So he's still under the care of Alder Hey. The specialist wants to see him today. Manx Care have refused to pay my 12-year-old son's medical bill, which is absolutely, I just couldn't understand it at all. Now, Manx Care haven't told us this. This has come from Mr. Pryor's secretary in Alder Hey. So they've been told by costings at Manx Care that they are no longer, up until April, paying for any care for Manx residents.
And so up until Monday, you had every right to believe that your son would be able to go across today and would be able to get that treatment.
Yes. So it was only, I'd say, 3 o'clock, maybe 2 o'clock yesterday, after numerous phone calls back and forth for the last 3 days, that we were told by MCALs at Nobles that we have no choice. My son has to see someone at Nobles Hospital Fracture Clinic today at 11 o'clock, despite them not having any medical notes, because Alder Hey hadn't sent anything over, because they were still of the understanding that my son was under their care.
Throughout this time, like you say, you've been hearing everything really parroted back through Alder Hey. What has communication been like through Manx Care? You say you've heard from MCALs.
Yeah, absolutely. The communication has been unbelievably shocking. My partner rang 20, 30 times. I was on the phone constantly all day yesterday. I'm waiting for a manager who can actually make this decision to call me back. Haven't heard anything from her for nearly 2 or 3 days. I spoke to an advocate yesterday, and they advised me to basically go to Alder Hey, meet the costs of travel, which is fine. I'm perfectly happy to do that. And when I get the invoice for the leading orthopaedic specialist in Alder Hey, which I can't imagine is going to be cheap, they advised me to sue Manx Care, which I find I'm just gobsmacked. So essentially, the headline of it is Manx Care are refusing to pay for a 12-year-old boy's treatment at Alder Hey. And I'm so embarrassed to be Manx.
I can imagine many people who hear this will empathise with your position, sympathise especially with your child as well, because what options are you left with right now?
So we're left with absolutely no options at all. So my son's leg is currently in a back slab, so it's not a full cast, and his ankle is not secure. His shin bone is not secure. He's had the pins inserted, but he currently has an open wound on his leg. That's why Mr. Pryor in Alder Hey wanted to see him today, and to make sure this growth plate is kind of healing how it should. The first 12 to 15 days after an operation, especially with this type of injury, are the most important. We're left with no choice. We have to go to Nobles to see someone in the fracture clinic today, and there's nothing we can do. We don't have any choice. I spoke to Children's Safeguarding at Nobles yesterday, and they said, I have parental responsibilities, and as a parent, if my son is still under the care of Alder Hey, then Manx Care, this is coming from their own safeguarding department for children, cannot refuse to send me. And she's encouraged me to make a formal complaint as well. Essentially, it comes down to money. The treatment of a child comes down to money on the Isle of Man.
It's clearly a distressing time for yourself and your partner, but how is your boy throughout all this?
I think he's been through a traumatic experience. You know, the injury was quite bad. You know, it was through his own fault. I will admit that. You know, but children will be children. And we're just trying to, you know, keep him as calm as possible. He's been of the understanding, the way it was relayed to us in Alder Hey, is that he will go back there, and they will monitor him throughout this medical research program, and you know, things like that. And you know, it give him a kind of bit of peace, you know, a bit of reassurance that, you know, someone's looking after him. And now we've kind of said, yep, we're away next week. You know, we've notified the school, you know, things like that. And you know, we're off up to Nobles. But I think one of the most kind of things that shocked me is part of the research scheme. It says that no other person can kind of monitor this injury or provide care and things like that. So as soon as Nobles today, you know, look at my son and do whatever they're going to do with him, they're kind of going against the request of Alder Hey and this research scheme, this medical research into this type of injury.
So that would take you off that scheme for good once you've been into Nobles today?
Yes, that's correct. So one of my concerns is who monitors my son's leg and any potential damage in the future.
Thank you for making it to the end of the Manx Radio Newscast. You are obviously someone with exquisite taste. May I politely suggest you might want to subscribe to this and a wide range of Manx Radio podcasts at your favourite podcast provider, so our best bits will magically appear on your smartphone. Thank you.